Hello there everybody, Sam's Trains here, welcome back to the railway and welcome to another review, this time of a Bachmann LNER tender engine. So today I'm going to be looking at one of Bachmann's most expensive 060 tender engines. It is this, the LNER Robinson Class J11. Now this is interesting because it's one of the very few Bachmann locos I have that actually came DCC fitted from the factory. So the RRP that I could find for this on Bachmann's website was £149.95, although that is the LNER black version, a slightly different version to this, and it's not 100% clear whether or not that version is DCC fitted as well. For £149.95 I would certainly hope so, because that's actually more than I paid for my Hornby J36, which not only was DCC fitted, but it was also fully die-cast, fully lined, and also equipped with TTS sound. So as I say, very, very expensive model. Luckily, it's not that expensive from the retailers. I found this for a lot less, brand new, £116, which of course is a lot better, but it's still quite expensive. So as I say, yeah, one of the most expensive, but is it one of the best? Well, that much I don't know yet, so we're going to find that out today. So let me know, what do you think? Is it going to be good or is it not? Let's see your prediction. I don't know right now. I think I'm going to hold out and wait and see what this is like. If it's fully die-cast, if it's got loads of features, a fantastic mechanism, then just maybe it will be worth the money. But let's find out. Let's get this out and see together. So yes, very exciting stuff. This will be the first Class J11 that I've ever owned, and looking at it just through the front of the box there, yeah, it does look like it's going to be really smart. So looking forward to seeing what this is like. Let me show you the end of the box then. So the product number for this is 31-320DC, which is misleading for a start because it's DCC fitted, but never mind. It's a Class J11. It has the BR running number there, which is 64325. It is in the BR black with the Lake crest. And as it says there, yes, this is DCC on board. And if you want to know more about DCC, what it means and whether or not you need it, I will include a link up there to my video all about getting started with DCC. However, if you're buying DCC fitted locos without sound, just DCC fitted, you can generally expect it to add £15 to £20 to the price, which duly seems to have happened with this at the very least. Anyway, looking at the back of the box, you can see a brief history here of the J11, so as always, feel free to pause and read that if you'd like to, but I will tell you about them in just a second. But for the time being, obviously, very high expectations for this one, which is excellent. I'm really looking forward to it. Let's get it out and see exactly what this is like. And I believe this must be a reasonably modern loco. Pull this out. I suppose if I look at the instructions you'll be able to see, because that Stanier Mogul was quite modern and it had sort of full printed instructions which are slightly different to the older Bachmann instructions. So let's get this blister out then and get a feel for the weight. Oh, I tell you what, yeah, there's a lot of weight there actually to say it's just an 060, so that's pretty cool. No, yes, it has got slightly different instructions, so it must be a little older than the Stanier Mogul, if that's anything to go by. So there we are, we have a shot to begin with of the underside of the loco, running in, curves, how to remove the body shell. Yes, that's quite important. Not that you need to worry about fitting DCC with this one, because my particular version has already got it, but I suppose not all of them do. On the back we have the exploded diagram, as you can see there, which features a reasonably standard looking motor and chassis. I can see sort of square looking bearings on this model, but surely as a newer Bachmann model, surely this will have a proper set of bearings. I think it probably does, in fact, given what I've read, but we will see in due course. So that's that, and then I think this other piece of paperwork is probably less interesting. Oh no, that's about the DCC decoder, that one, and that other one's about the product warranty, so not dreadfully interesting. Again, there are better videos to look at if you want to know more about DCC. Okay, well, let's take this sleeve off then and see what we have inside. So there's a detail pack, so let's take a look at that to begin with, shall we? Okay, it's stuck down, so I'll just peel that off. There we go. So quite a lot inside here. One thing I really like the look of is the inclusion once again of fireman's tools. Bachmann seem to include those quite often now with their models, which is excellent. I think that's a great feature and something that other manufacturers should certainly do. We have this queer looking electronic device, which is in fact just a blanking plate. So for example, if you bought this and didn't want to use it on DCC, you just wanted it on regular DC, you could fit that instead of the decoder and it would work normally. Also, we have some screws, we have a speaker mounting and what looks like a screw-link coupling set and some other bits and bobs to fit to the loco if you choose to. So yeah, quite a hefty detail pack. Not too much to fit yourself with this one, which is good. Maybe that suggests that most of the detail will already be pre-fitted to the model, which is what you want really, isn't it? So let me undo this end and very carefully lift the packaging up, which is well packaged, by the way. Look, there's all sorts of sort of rubberized plasticky packaging which protects and cushions the loco, which is very, very good. And let's pull this out. So I really like, actually, this is the first time I'm seeing the loco properly, and I really like the sort of square, I think that's the best word I can come up with for it, the square look to it. The top of the cab's very square, the firebox is quite square. Yeah, it just looks like most of the edges are quite harsh on this, and normally with steam locos, especially British ones, you get a lot of sort of curved shapes on them, but not so with this, so that is quite interesting. Also, there's an awful lot of weight to it. Yes, I can tell in fact that the running board is definitely die cast. There's a lot of weight to that running board, which is excellent. The bodywork doesn't feel as though it is, which I suppose is a little bit of a shame. I was half expecting most of the loco to be die cast given the massive price, but having said that, the weight does at least feel very reasonable for this, and I'm sure it will have actually quite a decent amount of power given all that weight. So it looks fantastic, doesn't it? You can tell, even though it's in a BR livery, that it's definitely an LNER engine just because of the shape of it, I suppose. There's just something about it, isn't there, that screams LNER. So I like this. This looks really, really good. So we'll take a close look at this. We'll take a look at some of the details together. But before that, here's a little bit of history of the class itself. So the J11 started life on the Great Central Railway, quite interestingly, or the GCR as it's also known, so we're talking pre-LNER actually. They were first introduced in 1901 to the design of John G. Robinson as the Class 9J in those days. The class itself was a development of an earlier GCR 9D design of locomotive, and overall they were much larger than the older design. They had an increased boiler size, a longer firebox and a larger wheelbase. The 9J was intended mainly for freight work, although they were often used on passenger services as time went on as well. In 1923, of course, the class fell into LNER ownership, where they were reclassified as J11s for the first time, as we now know them. They also had a minor subclass due to some differences, I think, as well in the design. Every member of the class survived into the BR era, which is quite impressive, isn't it, following 1948, but sadly all examples were scrapped by 1962 with no survivors. So there is the J11 up close for you, and yeah, it looks superb, doesn't it? I must say I'm a big fan of this already. And I would go as far as to say the level of detail does at least befit a loco with such a hefty price tag. Whether or not it absolutely justifies all that money, I'm not 100% convinced, because obviously the livery is relatively basic on this, and that's been true with every other version I've seen of this. But as I say, the level of detail seems to be very, very good. There's lots of nice features. There's no obvious corners that I can see have been cut. And so, provided the mechanism is all right, he says hesitantly, I think we've got a decent loco on our hands here, if slightly overpriced. But don't forget that the decoder is probably included in that price as well, which, as I say, can account for 15 to 20 pounds of it. So yeah, reasonably pleased with this. This isn't too bad at all. So let's take a close look and see what this is like. We'll start with some of the painted details, even though there's not a great many of them. We have what I think is the builder's plate over the centre splasher there, or on the centre splasher. I'll try and get a close-up of that so we can see what it says. It appears to be legible though, so that's good, obviously. Then on the side of the cab we have the running number, which again is very nicely applied, 64325, which is good. The smoke box door also has the running number and the shed code on it, which is good. And on there, incidentally, we also have the separately fitted lamp iron, I assume is separately fitted, and the smoke box dart, which is only partially separately fitted. You can see the back part there is just a part of the moulding, which does show. However, I think that's the only shortcut, in inverted commas, I can see with this, so that's not too bad, is it? The buffer beam is separately painted as well into the red, as you can see, and while we're looking at that, yes, we do have the vacuum pipe pre-fitted on there, which is nice, and we have buffers which are sprung, which again is another nice sign that no expense has been spared, which again helps to justify that massive price tag. Inside the cab you can see there is some painted detail as well, in fact quite a lot of painted detail, really quite a nice cab there. You can see there are gauges on the dial, which is a good way to gauge the detail level of the cab, which is good. The floor, while it doesn't have the wood panelling effect, does have a slightly different colour painted onto it, which I assume must be prototypical, so that's good. No tender full plate or anything on the loco, but there is one on the tender. So again, I'm assuming that's probably prototypical. Either that or it was just easier or made more sense to do it that way. But yeah, that's good as well. The level of detail then, both moulded and separately fitted, seems pretty good on here as well. Of course, we've got lots of handrails, not just the one that goes along the side of the boiler there, as you can see, but also ones on the side of the cab, the back of the cab, and also the tender as well, which we'll get onto in just a second. In terms of whistles and safety valves, you can see in front of the cab here, we do have metal safety valves, which are separately fitted. That's a really nice feature. I think I'd be grumbling if they'd fitted plastic ones, but they haven't, so that's good. And even the whistle, as fine a little piece as it is still die-cast, I believe, on top of the cab there, which is very good to see. And just below the whistle, you can see that we've also got nice glazed windows, which are really well done too. The running board is very, very thick and die-cast, as I say, which is excellent. Onto there we have some nice details, as you can see, including lampines, which have been incorporated onto the running board there, which is very good to see. And between the frames, if you look very, very carefully, you can see the valve gear there. It's not just a flat surface with no detail on it. We have got a representation of the valves between the frames, which is really, really nice to see. None of it's painted or anything like that, but it does just catch the eye when you look at the loco from above, which really makes a big difference. So it's looking fantastic, isn't it? Over the other side we have a separately fitted reversing rod as well, which is quite nice. I think that is just plastic, but it looks the part, doesn't it? Yeah, there's just a bit of quality about this, isn't there, which I'm really pleased to see. There's no sort of ugly seam lines on the boiler. I think the seam is underneath, just, yeah, on the lower section of it, but it's really nicely disguised. You can't really see it. The wheel set looks good. As you can see, the axles are all blanked out, and the coupling rods are nice and fine as well. Yeah, it just looks good, doesn't it? It's quite a basic loco as far as livery and paintwork is concerned, but Bachmann have done a really good job with this, I reckon, so that's great to see. The tender is quite nicely done as well. You can see we have the BR Lake crest on the side, which, as always, is nicely applied. The underframe is well detailed as well, and by the way, this model does have all of the brake rigging pre-fitted, which is really nice. Again, that's all absorbed into the RRP of the model, which is excellent. The coal load in the top is a very tall coal load. Obviously, whoever filled this tender was quite generous. But yeah, this is a die-cast piece, so that gives the tender quite a lot of weight, and it is removable as well, and if you were to remove it, you would see that there is detail underneath there. There is some painted detail on the tender as well. We've got the controls there for some sort of brake, I think. And then there's also another printed detail just behind there. I can't quite see what that says from where I'm sitting, but I'll do my best to get a close-up of it. Then around the back we have more separately fitted handrails, as you can see, separately fitted lampines as well, and on the buffer beam yet another separately fitted vacuum pipe, more sprung buffers, and yes, we do have the NEM tension locks fitted to the front and back. So it's got, I mean, I'm not finding myself saying, oh, it hasn't got this, it hasn't got that. It seems to be ticking all of the boxes. So what do you reckon? Does it tick all the boxes? Is there anything you can think of that it's missing? For me, for my untrained eye, not really. It looks really, really good. So let's get this down onto the track. We'll talk about the mechanism. I'll have a look at the mechanism first, and we'll see how it runs. This should be fun. Alright, so there she is then, the Bachmann J11 down onto the track, and I'm going to go ahead and say this is one of Bachmann's better locos, isn't it? I can't believe I'm actually saying that, but fair's fair, it is very, very decent. The mechanism is also very good as well. I think we've still got the 3-pole motor inside there, but there's a proper set of metal bearings on the wheel set, which is superb. We have tender pickups on the front and back axles. They're not the best tender pickups in the world, like the Stanley & Mogul. They've got that sort of flimsy quality to them, but they are there and they do work, which is really, really good. So yeah, really good mechanism as well. Now this is obviously DCC fitted, so I'm going to be running this on Railmaster, and I'm going to be controlling her via my iPad. There we go. And due to the way the iPad app is designed, and by that I mean badly, it's very difficult to actually get the slow speeds out of this. So maybe this isn't the best way really to show her running at slow speeds, but I'm going to do my best. So here we go then for her first run, or what I think is her first run, because I have this memory of maybe running her before in a video. However, I can't find that video, so I'm wondering whether or not it really did happen. If any of you guys are on your video travels and you do spot this engine running in one of my videos, please do let me know which one it was, because I'd love to know whether I'm cracking up or whether it really did happen. Anyway, let's get this started then. I'm going to set her to a shunt speed, which I've set to 5 miles an hour, and we'll see how slow it is. Okay, let's try. Ooh, okay. So yeah, not dreadfully slow. I'm going to see if I can get her to go any slower then. However, at that speed, as you can see, she does seem to be reasonably smooth, which is good. There is a bit of a crunching noise coming from her. Well, it's not crunching, more a grinding noise, which is not really a worry because she does run well, but yeah, it's just an observation. Oh, no, that's even faster. That was 7. I'm going to try and get it to 3 or something like that. Oh, that was 5 again. No. All right, I'm going to set this manually then, see if I can get it onto 3. Right. That's 3. Oh, that's good. So I used the PC mouse for that and managed to get it up onto 3. That is very good. Look at that, that's fine, isn't it? That's really, really good and slow. On DCC too. Yeah, that's great. Right, well, let's just set that forwards again then. There we go. Yeah, that is really good. I'm actually very impressed with that. That's excellent. I'd love to know actually how it runs on straight DC, but obviously that would involve de-chipping her, which would not be fun. So let's get her back again. Let's have a little bit more running forwards and back. Yeah, as you can tell, that's very impressive. That's a good performer, that. No, forwards. Yeah, the other thing about Railmaster is that it decides whether or not it's going to listen to you. Yes. Although I suppose that could be a network issue, to be fair. Right, a bit faster then. Let's get her... Oh, blimey. Let's get her running in and see how she gets on. All right, folks. Well, there we go. That is the running in over. I've got to say, it's quite noisy. It is really quite distractingly noisy. However, it does seem to perform perfectly. So let me know in the poll. If you've got one of these, is yours noisy as well? I'd like to know whether it's just mine. I don't know why that would be. But as I say, it runs really, really, really nicely. So I've tested the pulling power and it came in at 0.28 newtons, which interestingly is exactly the same pulling power that the Bachmann Midland 3F, yes, I think that's right, also had, so it's exactly the same. So Bachmann are very consistent, it seems. And that's only 0.02 newtons away from the pulling power of the Hornby Thompson 01, which is a review that I might or might not have already put out yet, depending on whether it's been released. Either way, let's get this loco to haul a bit of a goods train then. That's what it was designed to do. So as you can see, I've got some box vans, a bit of a mixed freight train there, as well as an LNER brake van on the back. So let's get this coupled to the train if possible and see how it handles it. It must also be said that she's not quite as smooth backwards as she is forwards, which is interesting. But yeah, and it's not like detrimentally so or anything like that. Also, I realised quite early on that the acceleration and deceleration on this was far, far too dramatic. In fact, it was set to 0, which meant that you would just get flat out speed as soon as you set the speed on the controller. So I've changed those to about 3, so you should get a bit more acceleration time and deceleration time rather than it just stopping dead or starting flat out. So with that, let's set this to about 10 miles an hour. Oh, I suppose that was still quite the acceleration though. And there she goes, looking very good. And then on the middle line I have what I think is possibly my favourite train that I've put together in quite a while. It's something that I've not thought of doing before, but of course it's got to be done. It is the Oxford Dean Goods in the khaki sort of sandy coloured livery with the ambulance train coaches. And many people say that that would have been a better choice of loco for that set anyway, so that's really cool. And then on the inside line I have a more Northern region or LNER region 060 tender engine, and it is of course the J15, which is very lovely. So see which other 060s you can spot. They're all old-timey ones except one, which is a lot more modern. So if you spot which one that is, let me know down in the comments. For now then, let's catch up with the J11 and see how it's getting on with its goods train. And the answer is very nicely. She looks fantastic. I'm going to have to try with coaches because apparently they did that at some point in their lives as well. But with a goods train, she looks very, very smart. And there is something to be said for plain black tender engines, isn't there? Especially when they're quite elegant like this one is. And yeah, it just looks great going along, doesn't it? I like this. Yeah, it's a bit expensive for the money, but overall I am actually really pleased with that. It's lovely. Man, what an ambulance train that is. It looks superb, that. I reckon the Dean Goods might be stealing the show very slightly. Perhaps that wasn't such a good choice. But no, this is good. As I say, I think one of Bachmann's best. It's really quite decent. I'm going to have to try and run it a bit more often. Alongside my other DCC engines, of course. That Dean Goods just runs so nicely, doesn't it? Absolutely wonderful. Alright, so here are some of my ratings for the actually very lovely Bachmann J11. So detail, I've given it 5-star. Yes, I really couldn't find any way to criticise the level of detail on this model. I particularly like the valve gear between the frames and the cab detail, so very, very good there. Performance, similarly, is very, very good. It's very strong, it's very smooth. It is a little bit noisy, but I don't think that's bad enough to warrant knocking off a star, so still 5-star on performance. The mechanism is pretty good. I've only given this a 4-star because I would rather them have 5-pole motors and slightly better tender pickups. But apart from that, it's not a big complaint, no real complaint at all really with this model, so 4-star, very well deserved. The quality is also very, very good. There's quite a lot of die cast. The loco consequently is very, very heavy. The mechanism has got high quality as well. It's a decently built model as well. I can't really fault it. So 5-star on the quality. Value then for £149.95, even if that does include the DCC decoder. I think that's quite a lot of money for this, given how simple the livery is. However, you do get what you pay for in that you get decent quality and good level of detail. So I've given it 3-star, middle of the road, not terrible, but not super, super amazing either. It's just okay. Overall then, that is a very decent score of 8.78 out of 10. Into the ranking she goes. There we go, 10th, just above the Oxford Adams radial tank and below the Thompson 01. Well, that is lovely. I've thoroughly enjoyed that. Sometimes the plain black 060s can get a little bit on the dull side, but not so. I've enjoyed this one. I really have, and I hope you did as well. And of course, don't forget to let me know down in the comments what you thought about this one. And with that, folks, I think that will just about round it up for this review. Yes, it's a good loco, provided you can find one for a good price, say £110, £120. It's worth it, I would say. So yes, very nice indeed. Well, folks, thank you for your time. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed that, and I will see you all very, very soon. All right, folks. See you next time. Take care.